and break me apart. I need you to open my eyes to see that you're shaping my life. All I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. I need you to pierce through the dark and cleanse every part of me. All I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will.
Hey everyone, my name's Alex and thank you for joining us today for online worship at St. Peter's. And if it's your first time here, we want to extend a very special welcome to you. This morning we'd like to give you a free gift. St. Peter's has access to a huge video library of faith-based videos called Right Now Media. We'd like to give you free access to those videos that you can view whenever and wherever you want, on your phone, tablet, computer, or even your smart TV. This library includes content for all ages and stages of life. There are video resources to help you with parenting, marriage, discipleship, and more. To get access, you can visit the link below in the video description, or you can use your smartphone and scan the QR code on the screen. This week's theme comes from our Bible Gems to Remember book, and if you still haven't had a chance to pick one of these up, you can always send an email to stpkids@stpetersedina.org. We'll find a way to send you a copy free of charge so you can follow along each week. Today we'll be reading about the story of Abraham leaving his home. God told Abraham to leave the country he was in and follow him into a new land. He would then bless Abraham and his wife with many children. Abraham trusted and did as the Lord said. To find out more, you can read the story starting on page 44 in your illustrated Bible. We would also love the opportunity to pray with you this morning. No matter what you're going through, whether you're struggling or celebrating, we want to join with you in prayer. If you're watching our interactive stream this morning, you can click on the Request Prayer button below this video, or you can send an email to prayer@stpetersedina.org. Just let us know your request and our prayer team will be happy to lift you up in prayer. Thank you again for joining us today. Now let's jump into our service with our kids' message.
Stories of the Bible. Abraham and Lot. This is Abraham. When Abraham was younger, he was known as Abram. Abram lived in a place called Haran. One day, God told Abram, "Leave your home with your family and go to a place that I will show you." So Abram traveled with his wife Sarai, their nephew Lot, and the rest of their family. The new land that they made home was crowded. Abram said to Lot, "Let's not fight. Is the whole land not before us? Let's split up. You go one way, and I will go the other way." So Lot looked to the left and to the right. He saw that the land of Jordan was well taken care of, so Lot chose to go the way that looked better to him. He took his family and they settled in the beautiful land, near the town of Sodom. Abram took his family and they moved the other way. Then one day, God said to Abram, "Look up. All the land you see will be blessed. I will give it to you and your family forever." Abram received the promise and the blessing because he was faithful.
This is my favorite picture in the Illustrated Bible so far. Abram decided to pack up everything he owned. He took his wife, his nephew, his servants, and all of his animals. He even took the family dog and cat. Funny. Now, this might be stretching the biblical narrative slightly, but it is accurate about the commitment that Abram made to up and leave. Abram would live by faith, following God wherever God led him. It's all part of our reading that comes from our Bible Gems to Remember Bible. And it's an illustrated Bible with some great pictures. We've got plenty of copies that are available for you to enjoy with your loved ones. Just request a copy and we'll make sure to get one to you. Well, let's pick up and read about Abraham. God had a plan to make the world perfect again. He chose a man named Abram to play a big part in that plan. But first, Abram would have to trust God and do something a little scary. God told Abram, "Leave the country you're living in now. Follow me, and I'll show you a new land." In the church, we call that a divine call, when God's people pray and gather to determine who should be their next leader by the Holy Spirit's guidance. Then they issue a call to that individual. That's how I ended up here in Minnesota to be pastor here alongside the people of St. Peter's. But even before that, I was a happy accounting student sitting in an inflatable swimming pool on campus when I heard God's unmistakable call. "Leave your comfortable pool and follow me into a land you don't know anything about." Well, he didn't actually say leave the pool, but follow me on a life journey. And he used the scriptures and a few special people in my life to confirm it. Leave behind what you've known, what's been so comfortable for you up till now. So I was obedient, and within 3 days I had moved into a freshman dorm at a new Christian college. But it was the first day of my senior year. I'd gone there to take theology courses to learn all about God, as much as I could learn. It didn't make sense from my perspective, but I followed. That led a year later to a move a couple blocks from the mighty Mississippi River in St. Louis, and then from there on to Ohio, and then Pennsylvania, and then back to Illinois, and eventually to Minnesota. Yes, God was saying, leave where you're living now. Follow me, and I'll show you a new land. And it was a new land, and it was a new life, and a new wife. And I had to convince her about this whole plan too. And then it went on to a new home and a new direction. And for me, it was a new response of faith that I had never acted upon in such a dramatic way before. Our Bible gem for today is live by faith. Now, a Bible gem is a short biblical statement that you and I can easily remember and will hopefully bring a new adventure in your encounter with Jesus. This one is more than just something to remember for a week. Live by faith. It's something that can change everything for you for a whole lifetime. Sometimes we need to make a choice. Will we stay where we are or trust God by faith and follow where He leads? I'm not just talking about some physical location. Sometimes living by faith means a change in behavior or attitude. It results in a difference in the way we talk and in the way we treat others. It changes the way we make purchases and decide what movies we'll watch or what music we'll listen to. Live by faith. That means our relationships will be affected. Live by faith. It may mean you can't continue working in the same job or living in the same home. Live by faith. It may require you to speak up when you would otherwise be silent. Christianity is not complicated. It's neglecting Christ that causes complication. Faith is simple, so live by faith. In Genesis, we're introduced to Abram, who's listed in the genealogy of the descendants of Noah. In chapter 12, we read, "The Lord said to Abram, 'Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you.'" I will. That's God at work. I will make. I will bless. Reading on. "So Abram went as the Lord told him, and Lot went with him." We heard what God would do. Now it was time for Abram to act. And note, it wasn't a very easy thing. This would affect his whole family. When you read it in the Bible, it seems so obvious, so easy, a no-brainer, but it wasn't. What would happen if you were to suggest that after prayer, after having a discussion with God, if you went to the people that care about you and you said to them, "I've heard we need to move." Let's just say you heard you needed to move out of the state, and your whole extended family needed to go with you. What will we do? I don't know. God will show us. Where are we going? Well, I'm not exactly sure yet. And to that, add a little bit of crazy, this idea that a 75-year-old man and his old wife would have a child, and it seemed a little far fetched. Abram was amazed. He and his wife Sarah were old, and they had never been able to have children. God was saying they were going to have a child and then grandchildren and then great-grandchildren. Abram's family was going to grow so big that they would form their own country. Now Abraham had to make a choice. Would he stay where he was, or would he believe God and go? 20 years ago, my cousin told his wife he wanted to move from Seattle to North Carolina. There was no job, no home, no real plan for the future, but this is what they needed to do. So they packed up a truck with their belongings and went. It seemed like a dream. But when their college daughter learned that not only mom and sister, but also grandma were being packed up too, it was just unbelievable. And she was the one involved with the spontaneity as a young woman with the Youth with a Mission life. And it was still a stretch. Have you ever felt God's call on your life? That it was time to take action? I want to warn you that you really start to doubt yourself. Is this really God's direction, or is this just my dream? Is God blessing what I want to do, or is this really his nudge on my life? If it was just about you, that'd be one thing. But when it affects everyone in your circle of influence, faith gets put to the test. God's at work everywhere all the time. And when you adjust your life to join him where he's working, you're dropped into the timeline of his kingdom activity. God includes Abraham and you and I in his mission through a personal encounter. Years passed and things didn't get any better. People were still just as cruel and mean to one another as they had been, even before the flood. They still got sick and died, and God's world was still full of tears. It was never meant to be like this. God was getting ready to do something about it. He was going to make all the wrong things right, and he was going to do it through a family. Abraham, God said, how many stars are there? God was about to tell his friend a wonderful secret. Let me see, Abraham said, looking up at the sky. But have you ever tried counting stars? Then you know how hard it is. 458, 459, 460. Wait, I already counted that one. Guess what? God laughed. I will give you so many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, you won't be able to count them all either. Abraham couldn't stop giggling at such a wonderful idea, but he stopped himself. Don't be silly. He didn't have any children. Then God told Abraham his secret rescue plan. Abraham, I will make your family very big, God promised, until one day your family will come to number more than even all the stars in the sky. You will be my special family, my people, and through you, everyone on earth will be blessed. It was an incredible promise. God was going to rescue the world through Abraham's family. One of his great-great-great-grandchildren would be the child, the promised one, the rescuer, Jesus. So Abraham trusted what God said more than what his eyes could see. And he believed. Live by faith. Abram had strong family ties, but he had a clear command from God and a promise of the stars. Are you uneasy with your current situation? Are you bored with your present responsibilities? Are you seeking a new challenge? Is God giving you an inner surge of curiosity and a desire for something else? Are you less connected to all the comforts and the securities in your life than you used to be? Are you feeling passionate about obeying God? Are you facing a challenge that's causing you to step out in faith? Hear me then when I encourage you to live by faith. May we confidentially pray for you. Send details, and our prayer team will lift you up, even without your name, so that God's call on your life is clear to you. Let me wrap up with a few more verses from Genesis 12. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord, who had appeared to him. From there he went on toward the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Abram heard God's promise and he immediately started to worship. Take time to stop and build altars at significant God moments in your life. What's an altar? That's a reminder to you of what God's doing. Highlight a promise in your Bible. Put stars around it. If God does something noticeable, mark the occasion. Take a picture, print it, display it. I have a basket full of pine cones in my office at home. Yes, pine trees are among my favorite trees, but every one of these pine cones marks a significant prayer moment with God. When I was seeking direction or looking for peace, when that would happen, I would pick up a pine cone wherever I was. My altar in a basket. Now, whenever I see them, it's a reminder for me to live by faith. I'm putting God first in my life, and I trust Him to take care of the rest.
Two men bring an offering to the Lord, one of the fruit of the ground, the other the firstborn of his flock. God accepts one and rejects the other. Why? Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. The word tells us clearly that the offering Abel brought was the firstborn of his flock, but it doesn't say that Cain brought the first fruits of his crops. It simply says, in the process of time, Cain brought an offering. Cain harvested his crops and over time gathered enough to bring an offering. It was an offering on Cain's terms. God accepted Abel's offering because it was the first of his increase. Cain's offering was rejected because it wasn't the first of his. Giving the first to God requires faith. When a firstborn lamb is born in a flock, it's not possible to know how many more lambs that you might produce. But Abel gave his firstborn lamb in faith, whereas Cain made sure he had enough for himself before giving to God. Many of us treat God the same way as Cain, making sure we have enough money before we see if there's anything left for God. Even if we give from what's left over, God can't accept the offering because it's not the first fruit. Other stories emphasize this truth. In the account of the fall of Jericho, the Lord gave strict instructions that the Israelites were not to keep any of the spoils from Jericho. All of it belonged to him, the Lord declared. Jericho belonged to the Lord because it was the first city conquered in the Promised Land. It was the first fruits. God withheld his blessing from Israel when one man took some of the spoils for himself. The first belongs to God. There was much more at stake than money when Abraham offered his firstborn son Isaac. When God asked for his son, Abraham didn't wait to have 10 sons before giving Isaac. He gave the first when he only had one to give. Abraham had only the promise of having more sons. It took faith for Abraham to offer Isaac, faith that God respected and blessed. And God did the same for us. He gave his first in the form of his Son, his first and only begotten Son, who was given to us while we were still sinners. God gave Jesus in faith that we might one day give our lives to him. The gift of his Son came before the blessing of our repentance and salvation. We give our first fruits in much the same way. Before we see the blessing of God, we give it in faith. Giving the first fruits of your income says to God, I recognize you first. I am putting you first in my life, and I trust you to take care of the rest.
Our biblical blessing from Romans chapter 1. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes, first to the Jew, then to the Gentile. For in the gospel, the righteousness of God is revealed, a righteousness that is by faith from first to last, just as it is written, the righteous will live by faith.